Hello and welcome back to the House of the Stag podcast. Today it's time to talk about George R. R. Martin's update. George, what do you
So,
make of it?
seems like the most recent year wasn't too good for ye old George. He said 2020 was pretty good, but 2021 he was slowing down. I think there are some personal tragedies going on, and here and there, and some people were not being super nice about it.
Yeah, that's true. I had a guy in the comments saying that he wishes that George would die so someone else can write it. And yeah, but let's not focus
And
on those toxic ass idiots.
yeah,
But in general, his interest seems to shift towards television shows now, and there's a lot of debate around this. Even if we get Winds of Winter, do we really think we're going to get A Dream of Spring?
Dream of Spring, very unlikely. I mean, 10 years later, I still kind of hold out hope for Winds of Winter, since like it's definitely easier to finish that one, since some work has been done. Dream of Spring, I wouldn't think about it.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm really torn apart here. On one hand, of course, I would prefer the book series, the main book series over anything, but if I can't have that, if I never get to see or get to read the real ending, I'd actually rather take Duncan Egg and those shows over Winds of Winter and nothing. And I don't know. It's gotten a bit toxic over the years now. I gotta say, I
Yeah.
understand the frustration. I understand where these people are coming from. They're very unsatisfied with how Game of Thrones ended. They want the real ending from George. They have a lot of hope that he will deliver a better ending. And yeah, I get it, but there seems to be just a one opinion now. And that's really what I'm struggling with.
I understand the frustration perfectly.
Absolutely.
But it's not worth fucking posting mean comments over, because like a lot of times when you see those comments and you look at them, they're not even book readers. Some of these are just like show watchers that got mad with season 8 and just came here to troll.
Yeah.
You can't ask them who are the Brackens in the Blackwoods. They're like, I've never heard them in my life.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, some of these people, I look at their profile picture, you didn't read the freaking books. You're lying to me. Name the different Blackfire rebellions.
Yeah, but anyway, it's weird. But I have a comment from one of our viewers that I want to read, and
All right.
I want to discuss it. So this one's coming from Dan Siegel. Shout out to you. Thank you for this comment. Actually, he says, I think George R. R. Martin's legacy can only be secured by the successful completion of A Song of Ice and Fire. Imagine Lord of the Rings without the Return of the King. Let's say Tolkien put out the Silmarillion beforehand, and then there would be a lot of lore for fans to enjoy, but all the themes and character arcs of the first two books would remain incomplete and fall into the realm of fanfiction. No one would really know Tolkien's values and message with confidence. The Lord of the Rings as a vehicle of consolation for the sorrows of our world. A Song of Ice and Fire, no doubt, will have a different message, perhaps along the lines of humans persevering through the torment of history to build something better. Or is this impossible due to our depravity, and are we headed for self-destructive? Working on TV shows must be more glamorous and more fun than confronting the blank page. A Song of Ice and Fire is his magnum opus, and he has a duty not to his fans but to himself to get through whatever psychological blocks he's facing. So yeah, what do you make of that? Because what I noticed, you can't ever discuss this topic without people immediately comparing it to Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know too much about the Silmarillion, but we have so many fleshed out historic events, so many characters, and we actually know so much about, let's say, Corlys Velaryon. There's a lot of possibility to flesh it out in TV shows and to put in the themes from his main book series.
Yeah. I mean, even if he doesn't finish the books, like the themes seem to be pretty complete already. I don't know how he could elaborate on more of that, it's like the Faulkner thing, like everyone's capable of good and evil, and then war is bad. People should be allowed a second chance to have some kind of redemption, like Jaime Lannister. That kind of thing. I feel like these are the main tenets of what he was trying to go for. All he needs to do is to figure out the battles.
I actually also see a lot of doubts about a Duncan Egg show, which is something, as you will know, I harassed my full timeline, my Instagram timeline for years about wanting a show like that. And it's
I feel like Dunkin' Egg, like if someone else has to finish Dunkin' Egg, the chances of it being of a higher quality is much higher, because it's a more of a linear, straightforward show. It's like if you have someone who's like a good writer, he can finish it off. You have the ending, and then you just figure out some character arcs all the way to Summer Hall. I don't think it's going to be that bad. And most of the other stuff you can pull from, Fire and Blood and just work on the dialogues and some of the minor characters. I think the chances of a good Duncan Egg show is pretty high. I would say Duncan Egg show might be easier to do than like House of the Dragon because there's a
Absolutely.
lot more things going on in House of the Dragon.
Absolutely, and it's so full of potential. You could come up with your own little stories about these characters, about what people they meet along the way. You could really focus on the small folk stuff, and it's very, very prominent. And Aegon is all about the small folk. It's what got him into so much trouble as king. And especially that one is like my most wanted, anticipated show in A Song of Ice and Fire. And I hope that we actually get the green light on that one. Because if I compare it to House of the Dragon, obviously there's gonna be huge battles and everything. But Duncan Egg is just a wholesome little story. Obviously, George R. R. Martin's world and all, it's very gray and it's all brutal and horrifying. And there's a lot of stuff that's in between, like the great spring sickness that could be explored. Huge potential for a very entertaining show. I wouldn't mind if this would become a little mini series where we just watch these characters explore and all. And if you're gonna do a Song of Ice and Fire series, or as a book reader, if you want something new, or you're not satisfied with the way Game of Thrones handle a lot of these themes, then this is the perfect show to show all of this, because you're getting the POV of small folk characters. You get all the horrors of war and all. And I said it in the video, it's kind of like a Westeros Mandalorian, if you think about it, but obviously for grown-ups and all.
Yeah.
The other stuff that he's mentioned in his comment here, he's talking about George R. R. Martin's legacy. That's an interesting one, because what do you make of George R. R. Martin's legacy if he never finishes A Song of Ice and Fire? It's obviously soured, but is it ruined? Is it done?
I mean, I don't think it's that bad, right? It's still one of the greatest fantasy books series of all time. Even in like serious literature, there are unfinished books all the time. I would think, In Search of Lost Time by Proust is unfinished. It's one of the longest book series of all time. It happens.
It definitely
Just
does.
saying.
Which is, I get it. In the great scheme of things, obviously, if you think back in, let's say, in 20 years, and he hasn't finished it, then you can obviously say, oh God, this legacy and all, but maybe someone else actually came in and finished this book series, who knows? Because he recently did a lot of opinion changing, skin changing or whatever.
Preston mentioned recently, right, that we can just like crowdsource this thing and make it, like an open source project, like software, where if he or anyone else gets like an outline of everything that is the gist of what's going to happen, and then we can just commit to like a GitHub project, and every commit from like each writer will have to be approved democratically by the majority of the creators, and then we'll just finish the book that way. Yeah.
I like the timing of that, actually.
Yeah.
Like, he must have read this blog post and he was like, nah, I'm doing this shit myself.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
But yeah, Sweet Robin King, I guess.
I'll pitch in. I have done a couple fan fiction of the Battle of Ice before. I'll pitch in, no problem.
Awesome.
Because all you need to do is to figure out the main events, and then reread his earlier books to get a feel of how he handles dialogue and description and food. Yeah, and then you're good.
Lots of food.
Lots of food. I think it would be pretty good. Yeah.
But yeah, the timing of this update is also very interesting, because all that he's mentioned already got somewhat leaked. He changed his mind. He said he would never work on anything besides Winds of Winter again, and something must have changed. And the very thing we're talking about here, legacy, is probably what he has in mind. Like, he wants to make sure this cinematic universe or whatever is there to stay. That's why he's writing more Duncan Egg. That's why he's writing more Fire and Blood. It's very interesting. Again, I get the frustration, but at the end of the day, if we get Dunk and Egg, we get these shows, the shows are better at handling his themes, his vision, then I'm all here for it, man.
Yeah.
What would be your ideal A Song of Ice and Fire show? What would you like to see?
I mean, I would choose like Dunk and Egg and Dance of Dragons.
So pretty much, yeah, what we're getting.
They got the most content. I mean, like, I'm sure you can kind of make like a Magor show too. If you deal with Dorn, you can do the Young Dragon. You know, these are good options too.
Yeah, definitely. Especially Dance of the Dragons is very interesting. I hope that House of the Dragon doesn't rush it. I hope these different timelines are really fleshed out. I don't want to have a full-on battle series right from the get-go. And I don't think we're getting one. I actually believe that we will spend a lot of time with these younger versions of Rhaenyra and Alicent and... Yeah, I actually hope that it kind of acts like we don't know all that much about Westeros, like a whole new feel to that world. I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, want to get like a the season 1 feel, more politics, less dragons. I'm down for that.
Hell yeah. Interesting dialogue again. Oh god, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff that went missing from season 5 onward, so I'd be down for that. And people are very worried about changes, and I get it, man. Like when you read A Song of Ice and Fire, the first book, the first chapter ever, and you see what the White Walkers have become in the show, and it's a whole different feel to it. But if you handle changes the way season 4 handled changes, then I'm all here for it. As we said, if you invent little stories about Dunk and Egg, that's fine to me, as long as it's faithful to the characters, how they should act, and how they present them. And also in House of the Dragon, like there's so much biased stuff when it comes to that time.
Well,
frame.
season 4, except when Asha goes around the world to Dreadfort, that part I can go without.
Yeah, that's like in my favorite Game of Thrones episode ever too. That's we could have lived without that. Shirtless Ramsay.
Like, shirtless Ramsay, Asha teleporting. You know, I can do without that.
My brother is dead. What the fuck?
You've been there for 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
He sails back to Dorne and then back to the East Coast again.
And off she goes, never to be seen again. But yeah, stuff like this is very early actually. Stuff like Tywin Lannister and Arya, those kind of changes. The problem in Game of Thrones wasn't changes, or wasn't that there was no source material, apparently. The problem in Game of Thrones was that the writers just went for spectacle, for big battles, for big stuff, and they didn't care to properly set it up anymore. That was the problem. If you do changes and you still like respect these themes, these characters that you established, then I don't see any problem. And also George recently made a huge blog post about the big writing team and all. That's all new. Like that's completely new. Did you see how many people work on House of the Dragon? This gives me so much hope. Some of them are actually quite familiar with George, like Ty Michael, it's his assistant, and I think that in his huge negotiation for Game of Thrones spin-off shows, that he actually made creative control one of his main conditions. I don't think these shows will feel so disconnected anymore.
Yeah, I feel like the most important thing is you get the people who want to do this project, you know? Not like you're working on Game of Thrones, but you're thinking about The Mandalorian, you know? As long as you're passionate about House of the Dragon, you know, it can't be that bad. The problem is if you get like cynical people who are just here for a quick buck, then the project would go sideways. As long as the people who want to do this project are doing the project, that is good. Even if there are honest mistakes, some plot lines, you know, not 100%, but you can see if someone's into it versus someone's not.
Ryan Condal seems very into it. Like that guy is fangirling over all these swords and props and everything, and he seems to have been very, very in touch with George throughout that whole process of writing season 1 and all. So I'm very hopeful. I don't know if I see these things differently because I'm so hopeful for this show and all. Maybe I'm a sweet summer child, but I give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's what I want to have in this community that we're trying to build here. Like, you loved everything up until season 4 and hated everything after it. Cool. You loved season 8 even. Also cool. Like, I don't want to have that one opinion. It's just, what would even be the point of our channel? Like, that's just one Google search away from everything you hear. Like, whatever. Yeah, it's all bad. It's all gonna suck. Bye. Let's wrap this up. Thank you guys. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do here. Like, I want to get to the bottom of this, and man, I can't wait to release those House of the Dragon videos. I did a lot of research on Ryan Condal and the writing team and who's working on what, and I hope this really gets the people back, and this really is the start of a whole universe, a whole cinematic universe, and I hope it's gonna be here for many, many years to come. And I see the risks. I totally see that. I get the frustration. But man, it's just, we didn't even see anything yet, you know? But I could be wrong too. Maybe it does suck. we will know once we see it.
Yeah, well, we won't know until we know.
Oh, and I'm not a because I think someone called me a George R. R. Martin nut writer. I'm not that at all. Bro, hell no. If House of the Dragon sucks, I am going to shred it to pieces. That's just it. I'm always just laid back about stuff like that. I'm always honest about it, and I'll talk about it when I see it before rushing to any conclusions. Because right now, what do we have? Like 3 pictures and a sweet little teaser trailer. Yeah. We will see, man.
Were there any lines in the teaser trailer, or is it just like people walking around?
Yeah, Damon says something. Fire, blood,
Oh, okay.
Dreams didn't make us kings.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Which is gonna be interesting, right? The dialogue.
Yeah.
Mummer's farce.
Mummer's farce.
It's gotta come back. No more I drink and I know things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Oh, actually, what do you make of that animated show set in Yeti? You're pretty big on anime stuff and all. I think, given that it's in Yeti, which is obviously, isn't it George R. R. Martin's version of ancient China? It's very likely that
pretty
it's
much
kind of a Japanese anime show or something.
I feel like he needs to have more content there, because like right now we pretty much know nothing other than, you know, what is it, the Blood Emperor or something. It's just super vague. You know, we have more stuff about like Bravos and all. ET, I wonder if it has to do with like Ashai and everything. He needs to give us more before someone should take over ET, you know.
Which is also the thing, right? If you were to do a cinematic universe, you obviously would want to connect it all. Just like Star Wars is doing right now. Like, you're forced to watch Boba Fett to understand Mandalorian. I hope that doesn't happen as hardcore as Star Wars does it right now, but if you would do a spin-off show about Corlys Velaryon, then obviously you're connecting Corlys and House of the Dragon, and you could show Ashai, and then when we see it in animated versions, like, we would know some stuff about it already. That type of stuff, you know? So it makes me wonder about these specific spin-off shows that they're doing. The easiest one would have to be Robert's Rebellion, and they're not doing it. And I respect that. You know what show would be pretty dope in animated form?
What?
The one George wanted. The Spear Carriers one. Basically, a Song of Ice and Fire version of Star Wars Clone Wars. You know, it could be set during the events of Game of Thrones, but you would follow small folk and all. Invent a northern soldier, and you get to experience these battles from a different perspective. It could add to the show. It could fix a few things from season 5 up to season 8. Kind of like Star Wars, the Clone Wars did to anything between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Would be pretty interesting. Like, one episode you would follow a handmaiden, and you get all these schemings of Marjorie and Cersei, and yeah, there's again, I'm drifting off, but it would be pretty cool in my opinion.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good idea.
Alright, George, let's wrap this up. All in all, I think we agree that, yeah, we get the frustration. I said that like, I don't know, 20 times in this video alone, but it's still okay to be open-minded about all this stuff that is coming out right now. We will have to wait and see is all I'll say. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please leave a comment down below. Let's discuss this. Let's talk about it, and see you in the next one.